Wonderful. So welcome back to our audience here at Leap High Africa, the virtual summit, introducing Africa business leaders, especially those who were in the diaspora and started a successful business in Africa. And I'm so honored to have Suzie Wokabi with us. Suzie, a very warm welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Suzie, before we actually dive in what you do, I mean, you're an amazing business leader. I have really followed your story, for many years, and actually also told your success story to many people in the diaspora. Because, you came from California, right? And you moved back into Kenya. So before I ask you about your business, I want to ask you, what is the biggest lesson you have learned starting a business in Africa?
Starting a business in Africa. I don't know if it's starting a business in Africa or just starting a business, period. It was actually never my plan. I didn't know that I'd ever be an entrepreneur. But I stumbled upon it pretty much. After moving home from the US, I was in California for about 2 years. And then the rest of my time there, about 7-8 years, was in New York, New Jersey.
Right.
I moved back home in 2007 with a beauty background, product development background, basically in the fashion beauty arena, and came back home with, armed with that knowledge, hoping to break into the media makeup space in Kenya, which was very infantile. Very few professional makeup artists. I came with my big suitcase full of product and my portfolio and hit the ground running pretty much with all the media houses, magazines, TV, and newspapers and everything, and just doing makeup. But then now I found a space in the retail cosmetics area because I could not actually replenish product that I was using to do my work with, let alone my own what I wanted to use for myself. Because everything I found in the cosmetics stores, like beauty shops and pharmacies where people go to buy makeup, everything is imported. Everything is very, very expensive, inflated. What I would buy in the US for $20 was the equivalent of about $90, $100 here.
Wow.
So obviously unsustainable. I'd have to wait to travel to go and replenish my stock, or wait to call my brother in New Jersey, please send me this color from this shop, and then this from this shop. It wasn't working out. So that's how I just stumbled upon, what, I can't be the only one suffering. I'm going to make my own product. For me, it was just, I want to make pretty colors for beautiful women, and it's going to be so fun. Not realizing that it's going to be a crazy whole journey.
The start of a new journey.
Business, make my first business plan ever, figure out what I'm doing. So the brand building started from the very beginning. Suzie Beauty. I actually had that website since the year 2002, which is 15 years ago now, 16 years ago. Before I even started the company Suzie Beauty.
Right, and actually now you're introducing your brand.
Yes.
So this is it. You're the founder, and CEO of Suzie Beauty.
Yes. I'm the founder of Suzie Beauty, which happens to be Kenya's very first makeup brand. I'm glad I'll always be able to claim that. And we've been retailing now for almost 6 years in mostly Nairobi, a few distributorships in other towns in Kenya, but quite a small, still trying to perfect the Nairobi market, and I think we've basically got there at this point. We have 6 of our own retail spaces, and we still do use existing outlets like pharmacies and beauty shops and supermarkets.
Suzie, but I want to bring this into...
I haven't even finished answering a question.
No, it's fine.
You are about starting a business. I learned a lot on the job because, like I said, I was never planning to have a business. And I was just trying to create this product. But yes, registering a company, learning that process was an animal on its own. Realizing quite quickly that I could not manufacture locally, so figuring out how to find manufacturers who would go according to my specifications for the product, because I was very particular about that. The whole concept behind Suzie Beauty is great quality, international style quality, which is what the products I'm used to using. yet affordable. Affordability was super important. So even finding manufacturers who could get to that level whereby I can afford the cost, keep it affordable, and not be unprofitable. So then fundraising was really, really an uphill battle. So those are all part of like starting the business and being a startup. Startups are treated like pariahs. I keep saying, I'm like, please, whoever can fill that space, because there's people who have a concept that are barely, that who caters to that funding wise. There's still actually the level above that, whereby you've proven your concept. You don't need $20 million. You need, maybe $500,000 to take it to keep growing. So there's that space is also missing in the funding arena.
Right.
So
yeah, I want to bring everything into context, because I think people are not really aware what you have actually built. It's amazing what you've built. You've started from scratch.
Sometimes I don't remember.
You don't remember exactly. I think so. That's why I want to remind you. So you've started from scratch. You were a makeup artist, right? So that was your background.
Yeah.
You started from scratch, mixing some, pots and stuff.
Exactly. I'd worked with so many different product lines. Right. And also, mixing and matching, looking at ingredients, like figuring out why this works, why this doesn't.
And now you've built a multi-million-dollar company, right? This is it. This is crazy, and so I really want to go back to that startup period. Because for a lot of our people in the audience, we want to motivate Africans on the continent, but in particular in the diaspora.
Yes.
Because, they have so much skill and knowledge and resources and also the will to contribute towards Africa and to build their own lives into a better version. But something, is holding them back. Mm-hmm. And therefore, I really want to dive into your startup story. You started from the US, moved back with a background in makeup, and you started a multi-million-dollar company in your kitchen. Take us back to when you were mixing these pots together. What was going on?
So like I said, when I was in the US, I worked for, I was trained by like MAC and Clinique, like great companies, great training. Worked as a freelance makeup artist for years. My bread and butter came from, I worked for a designer eyewear company doing product development. And I always did makeup on the side, like on the weekends, like building my portfolio. So when it was time to go back home, I knew that the beauty aspect is where I wanted to focus on, because that's what I'm most passionate about and what I actually feel like I know best. And so came to work in the makeup artistry industry, but within media. And got a lot of great gigs quite quickly, hit the ground running. And then found this space. So now when I came to, okay, you know what, I'm just going to make my own. I can't, this is unsustainable, trying to travel to buy product or, spending everything I've earned to just buy, a few items. I looked into my back notes, like, before I moved home, I had all these, like this, like Kenya folder. And I found that I'd actually like looked into cosmetics companies here. And, what if I wanted to make my own cosmetics line one day? All these notes I'd written. For me, I'm like, no, I was asked. I came up with this idea in 2009, just after I landed. But no, I used to think about it there. And my girlfriends tell me, you can't remember? In like 2003, you said one day you'll have your own product line? I'm like, no, I don't remember that. So I guess it was always somewhere in the back of my head. And got the opportunity to come and make that dream come alive, I guess.
Amazing. I think
so. I had all these ingredients on my list, raw materials that I would require. And what I feel like, I've compared so many products, and this one doesn't have that product, that ingredient, and that's probably why it works better than this one. What's good, what's bad. I had to go to the Kenya Bureau of Standards and sit through their lists and see what, like, there's products, raw ingredients that are illegal to use, or like, what must not be used together. I had to do all that. And found out from one of the top professors at the university in the chemistry area. Found out, he went through my list of ingredients and he's just like ticking off. He's like, no, like none of these ingredients are available in the country. So that's when I was like, okay, so I'd have to import every single ingredient. That means, but the people who actually make makeup, what do they do? Like, where do they get it from? And found out that nobody makes makeup. So I'm like, oh, so this is going to be the first line. Okay, so that means the first Kenyan line. Then why don't I cater it to the Kenyan woman, like, and the African woman? So, and I know from all these brands that I've worked with, like, what actually doesn't work on our skins. You know, you'll put an eyeshadow on in 5 minutes, it's gone. And yet there's others that you'll put it on and you can wash your face 5 times and it's still there. So there's a fine line, you know, getting that nice balance of staying power. Had to look through like our climate, humidity levels, all that.
Right.
Why do certain products like fall off your face? Why do some make you look oilier? Why do the news anchors on TV, why do they look gray, you know, instead of brown? So yeah, just a lot of mixing and matching and grinding, and my home looked like a chemistry lab for the longest time. I was testing stuff on myself, on my poor husband, whoever would sit in my chair when I finally got my sample line. Many people did not know that they were my guinea pigs.
So it was,
yeah, and came up with the sample line that was working, and started testing that properly and making sure that it's what I want it to be.
Yeah, so it was very, very hands-on, right? So how long did it take from all this mixing in the kitchen, trying it on people, trying to figure out how you could localize your product? How long did that take from this point to actually, you know, seriously going out there and selling?
So from, hi, I'm going to create my own product, to launching the product, 3 years. 3 years. Yeah. When I look at my initial business plans, I was so cute. I was writing, so it's, you know, it's January now. And so in September, I will have launched the product, and I will have this lovely launch at this fancy place with all these lovely people. 9 months. No, 3 years. And see, that's why I really was meant to be an entrepreneur. We have this optimism that's you can't learn.
But I'm glad you mentioned it. Yeah.
So it was a 3-year process. The first year was all research and development, and then traveling to look for manufacturers. The second year, I'm going to say, was mostly spent testing the product and perfecting it. And the full third year was fundraising. Fundraising, right. Yeah. So yeah, research. I needed about $200,000
in fundraising. You fundraised $200,000, and that was at a stage. Yeah, that was at a stage where you really knew you had a good product in hand, and you tested.
Exactly. I knew what it was. I started. I mean, the brand Suzie Beauty was already known because I was working in the industry. I had a lot of media friends, a lot of celebrity clients, and that type of thing. So my name was already known. So brand building, started from day one and continued. So everyone was sort of eager and anticipating. Actually, today, you know, on Facebook, how they give you those your memories. I don't know if you're memories from like 2 years ago, and then it's a picture of your child or whatever. Today, they had 7 years ago. There was an article by this blog called How We Made It in Africa.
Right. Yeah.
And I was talking about, I've created these products and one day I'll launch. Like 7 years ago. Yeah. My first article in the newspaper was written in September of 2009. I have it framed because I was talking about I'm beginning to create this brand and this product line. And that was 2009. Gosh, it's 9 years ago. And now you did it. It's always been an interesting story. I think they're like, I mean, what crazy person is this with this audacity to think she can create a product line which has never been done here?
A leading.
So then that's why everyone's like, who does your PR for you? I'm like, no, it's a domino effect. Once you get, and then you have an interesting story. Once somebody writes about it or talks about it or interviews you on the TV or whatever, then the next one wants and the next one wants. And so I've never done any paid advertising until today. It's all been a lot of my big mouth and my PR.
Right, and that works because you always stayed, you know, in kind of focus for me, because I follow a lot of Africa business leaders, and your story, it was one of those stories that always stood out for me. You know,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. You started in the kitchen. You built a multi-million-dollar company. You know, you're focusing on the African consumer. I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
Suzie, you're welcome. Suzie, one thing that, you know, just yesterday, I sent out a little survey to my followers. And I asked, you know, what they would like more training and information about. And I asked, was it general Africa business advice? Was it investing in African companies? And I asked several questions. And I asked also, do you think you need mindset training? More, you know, more empowerment in terms of developing a success mindset to actually see you through. And under all among all the questions, that one got the least votes. What do you say to that?
Exactly that. Really?
Yeah. So people felt
a bit of the conversation we were just having about, you know, international brands will come into the country thinking they'll come and just conquer, and they land flat on their faces very quickly, because you have to understand the clientele, the mentality of the people here, how they consume, what they want, what they don't want, how to introduce yourself to them, how to introduce your brand to them. You have to respect that actually, and your mindset will have to adjust.
Yeah, and what about the inner strength, the determination, the courage, the not giving up, like you?
I call it the 3 Ps.
Okay.
What I've learned as an entrepreneur: patience, perseverance, passion. Those 3 have to be. I have learned as a new type of patience since becoming an entrepreneur. You know, something is out of your hands, and you want it so badly because you're so passionate about this thing, but you just have to wait. And then you can't give up. Perseverance. You cannot. I mean, like, I call Suzie Beauty like one of my children. I have 2 boys, and everyone's like, oh, you should have a girl. I'm like, I have a girl. Her name is and she's almost as difficult as those boys.
I hear you.
You can't, like, so everyone's like, how come you never gave up? And I'm like, that's like saying, you know, my son was naughty today, so I give up on him. No. Suzie Beauty was naughty today, then you know, I'll discipline her and we'll keep going.
I like that image.
Perseverance, perseverance, extremely important.
So what was your the biggest challenge you had to face? Where maybe was there a moment also early on where you said, that's it, I can't do this, or I
think I did that every day.
Really?
At some point of the day. My 24 hours is a complete roller coaster. I've quit maybe once a week since I started. I'm not doing it. You know, it's impossible. It's impossible. Then 5 minutes later, I'm back at it because I love it. Biggest challenge, I'm going to say, okay, 2. One is I'm a creative, so running a business, putting together a business, completely uncomfortable. So, and then because of course we had a very slim team, because you know, it had to be me doing most of the stuff, and I had like an assistant. My husband stepped in to help where he could with the operations and finance and logistics, because I realized quite fast that I can't do everything. There's things I don't know, and it's very good to own that. So that just like, and my title was CEO for the longest time, which I was very uncomfortable with also, because I'm like, no, I know what CEOs do, and I don't know how to do these 10 things out of, you know, I know what I know how to do. Please let me not have this title. No, you know, we can't afford to hire a CEO right now, so it has to be.
You're the CEO.
Yeah. And so I got away from the fun creative stuff for a long time, I didn't love that at all. But it's okay. Now I'm here. Now I'm doing that. And then the second, and actually more than anything, most challenging bit is finances. Fundraising was an uphill battle from beginning to end. And then even just like running the business finance-wise, cash flows, you know, analyzing things and like having your numbers right, and there never are, like, you know, you're going according to so many approximations. And being a pioneer company, we had no, even like nothing to benchmark against, no data to go with. So a lot of falling flat on our faces, a lot of learning on the job, learning the hard way, which is why I think the brand like is sustainable, because we learned it from the dumps.
But it's true. So you grew into into these positions. It had to be done. And I think what you said is you have to have passion for it. You have to have a huge drive for it. Otherwise, you will give up on these hurdles.
Absolutely. That's super, super important, because as a business owner, or as a CEO, or as an entrepreneur, what gets you going every day? I mean, nothing in life is easy, sure, but what gets you out of bed and, you know, gives you that spring in your step to get the stuff done is the passion that you have for it. Otherwise, you know, somebody who, you know, or somebody is doing really well doing that thing, you know, they like it or they don't, but I think they make a lot of money from it, so I'm going to try it. Because of that, you're not going to work. It's not going to work. 90% of startups fail. There's a reason why.
Yeah. And that's very important advice. I have 2 more questions, Suzie. I know you're a very busy lady.
That's
and
okay.
It's so good to have you on our virtual summit.
Nice to be here.
One thing, thank you, Suzie. So one thing that I wanted to ask is, if you look in general at the beauty market, fast-moving consumer goods, beauty, makeup, cosmetics, what opportunities do you see in Kenya, East Africa, or across the continent in this regard?
Huge. It's growing, and it's growing fast. Right now it's worth about 5.5 billion shillings, the industry, and growing. We've seen international brands flock in, and before, you know, 10 years ago, even when international brands that I was saying, they're sold at such exorbitant prices because they weren't here. Like Revlon did not come and launch themselves here. L'Oreal did not come and launch themselves here. The type of thing, it was very like suitcase. Somebody goes, buys from Dubai or buys from the US, comes back with it in their suitcase and puts it in their beauty shop. So Revlon doesn't even know that beauty shop. They don't know that their product is being sold there. MAC doesn't know. And that's how a lot of counterfeit products got into the market.
Right.
So it's growing really well. You can see that from local brands emerging. So people like me in Nigeria, there's this brand called House of Tara. South Africa has a whole bunch, and a few throughout the continent. And while I'm the first in Kenya, there's still others that have come after me, maybe 2 or 3. They're trying to get into their space in the market, which is wonderful. I love it. So definitely on the up and up. MAC has established themselves here. L'Oreal came and bought out another big local brand and took over their factory, and they're manufacturing here. So such things are a big deal and good to watch. And you know, the other companies see what's going on, and they're also interested in coming to invest, and it's all like building the economy. For me, it's the beauty industry growing. I'm all for it.
Wonderful. I mean, dear audience, you hear, and you know, we have quite a few people in the diaspora who are really interested in cosmetics, skincare products, makeup.
Sure. Yeah, and there's all sorts of movement. There's there's hairlines coming out.
Exactly. Yeah. The organic and natural hair product, skin product movement absolutely is growing, not just in the West, but in Africa too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so there's so much space to come in there. Suzie, and so you're hearing it from a leading business market leader in the industry, and she's telling you, get in. There's still a lot of space in there, but that space will also be getting more and more crowded. You know, it will not look like this anymore in the next 5 to 10 years. So
no, it will be a lot different. Yes.
Suzie, my last question.
Yeah.
We have people watching today from the African diaspora, from the continent, even friends of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
what is, many of them have the ambition to start a business, to contribute towards the continent and its growth, to do something of impact, to do something greater with their lives. And, they're held back. They're held back by fear, or they're held back by their routine in the West, or they think, oh, they don't have the capital to get anything started. They're held back by so many things. What would you say to them as an advice?
One and only thing: do it. Dive in. It's extremely scary. It is. But if you want it, you'll get it done. I had no idea. I had no money, but I found it because I knew I had to get it somehow. So this avenue doesn't work. I'll check the next one, and I'll check the next, and I'll make an avenue. Whatever needs to get done to do it, I'm going to do it. So if you are really passionate about something, and also, okay, don't go in blindly. Do your research and make sure that it's actually viable and it's going to work. And then dive in. Don't put in one toe in the water and then expect something to happen. Put your whole body in and do it. Just do it.
I love it. Thank you so much, Suzie, for today. You're a true example to many of us. Thank you so much for being part of the Leap High Africa Summit.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Suzie.
Okay.